Good evening, everybody. For the record, it is Thursday, September 23rd, 2021, and it's 5:15 p.m., time for the regular meeting of the Wenatchee City Council. I've called the meeting to order. It's always the time where we start with the pledge to our flag, but I can't ask Travis this time because I've asked him twice in a row. You want to go for three, so I'm going to ask Jose to lead us in the pledge today.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Cuevas. First item on roll call, all 7 members are here today, so that's always great. Consent items tonight would include approving this evening's agenda, vouchers, and our minutes from our previous meeting. I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion that we approve the consent items consisting of this evening's agenda, vouchers, and minutes from the previous meetings.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Kulas, second by Councilmember Bailey to approve this evening's consent items, including the agenda, vouchers, and our minutes from the previous meetings. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Citizen comment. This would be a time if any member of the audience wishes to address the City Council on something that's not on today's agenda. Seeing no takers, we have a number of action items this evening, so we'll just get right to them. The first is regarding the collective bargaining agreement with the Wenatchee Police Guild. Chief?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. The item before you is the open articles that were in the collective bargaining agreement with the Wenatchee Police Guild. These articles were to address 2022 and 2023 calendar years. The specific open articles were longevity incentive, base wages, rank advancement, and foreign language incentive. In your packet, you have a copy of the tentative agreement between the Guild and the City of Wenatchee. Happy to answer any questions if you'd like.
I think I'll add just a couple of things. You know, last year was a negotiating year with our Guild, and 2020 was. And as we were finishing up, we were still in the midst of COVID, and we weren't quite sure how sales tax was coming in, and so their wage increase probably wasn't what it should have been. So I think these numbers help get them back up where they need to be in terms of competitive with those in our neighborhood. And I appreciated them doing it last year, and this is a highly competitive industry all of a sudden, so we need to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
Any questions for Chief?
Chief, I wanted a clarification on the sergeant advancement. Have we just been really low on what we've been paying our sergeants, and it's now time to give them what they're due?
This is actually the separation between the base pay of an officer and what the separation between that base pay and where the corporal and the sergeant should be placed above that base pay. It's not necessarily an increase of the full percentage there. Before we were at, I believe it was 15% separation for sergeants and 7.5 for corporals. It brings them within industry standard. We took a look at all the comparables. I think that the average was around for sergeants was about 17.36 with all of our comparables, removing the very high from the very low, and this put them right where they should be, market value. So it was a good move to get that that standard in place.
We always want to make it so that if someone wants to take the next level up, right, that the pay is also commensurate with that, and sometimes with overtime and other sorts of variables, sometimes the pay increase isn't enough to entice a good candidate to want to move up into administration. So I think trying to keep those separations is important to the entire department.
I think it's kind of important as well to kind of recognize that with the new legislation that came out in regards to police reform measures, we're asking a lot more out of our sergeants too. This was an easy conceptual idea to grab a hold of. And ultimately, in the end, I agree with that separation because of the new responsibilities that those sergeants and corporals have in their supervisory responsibility, being able to shut down a pursuit properly at the right time, being able to monitor use of force, all is really important at this stage of the game for all law enforcement. So they're hitting the books. They're learning how to administrate these new laws.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate the explanation.
Certainly.
All right, anything else for Chief?
I have a question in regards to the foreign language incentive. It says that the competency shall be determined by the successful completion of a mutually agreeable examination.
That's correct.
Well, who's doing the examination? And I don't know, to me it seems a little subjective as to the examiner having, the say of, yeah, he passes, he doesn't pass.
No, it's basic conversational Spanish.
Okay.
It's done internally with our Spanish-speaking officers that we've designated. It isn't super onerous, but you do have to be able to carry on a very fluid conversation in Spanish. And we test to those very specific skills of being able to elicit information, provide information. So that's how we handle that piece of it. And that was an increase from 1.5 to 3.
Yeah. Thank you.
You bet.
All right, any other questions for Chief? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move for City Council to authorize the mayor to execute the attached open articles of the CBA mutually agreed upon by both bargaining teams and approved by Wenatchee Police Guild members by vote.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Harold, second by Councilmember Cuevas to authorize the mayor's signature on the attached open articles of the CBA mutually agreed upon by both bargaining teams and approved by the Wenatchee Police Guild members by vote. Any discussion?
I'll just make one further comment
Yeah.
that I agree with the mayor that we have a great police force and we want to do everything we can to retain those great officers. So.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Erickson, RCO grant.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Dave Erickson, Parks and Recreation Director for the city. So in early 2020, we came to council and asked for authorization to apply for a grant to acquire some property up in the foothills that we talked about previously in executive session. And council authorized the application. So last year we went through the 9-month or so process to apply for the grant, and we were successful. So the grant itself is for $491,750 from the state. And so by authorizing the mayor to be able to sign the grant agreement and accept it, then we would work with our partners, again, the Land Trust, to, just like we did with several other of the acquisitions in the foothills, acquire these properties and add them to the Foothills Trail system. We brought this concept to the Public Works Committee and Finance Committee, and it's supported by a number of our plan documents, the Parks and Rec Comp Plan, the Foothills Trails Plan, and all of those similar documents. And so staff recommends accepting the grant so we can move ahead with it and hopefully have it done in the next 1.5 to 2 years.
Why does it take a year and a half or 2 years if we accept the grant today?
Yeah, we accept the grant, but so the grant has to go back to the state. They have to approve it and send it back to us also. And then we have a couple of boundary line adjustments that we have to do first to clean up the property lines. And Land Trust is taking care of that for us. And then once we do that, then we have to do appraisals and review appraisals on each of the parcels as well.
Okay.
And so by the time you do all of those things, that adds quite a bit of time to the process. So, yeah.
So I have a question about, you have plans for some kind of a rec development plan for out there, or just use existing trail systems?
Yeah, so currently, we would just use the existing trail systems, then we'd work with the Land Trust, and they would get their Trails Committee and those folks together to develop the formal trail plan for it, once we have the properties.
And can you speak to what kind of recreation that would be out there, just for everyone else?
Yeah, it's non-motorized recreation, so in this particular area, the foothills, it could be anything from equestrian. We do have quite a few equestrian riders in that area with Dry Gulch and everything right there. I would say the predominant users will be hikers and walkers. There's quite a bit of habitat and unique habitat in that area, so it's going to really open up opportunities for interpretation. So both from some of the plant and animal species that are out there, but also some of the geologic formations that are in that area. So it's really kind of a unique area of the foothills. A lot of school groups go up there. The other important thing to note too is it links several parcels together. So it takes our publicly held Saddle Rock piece and will link that to Forest Service and BLM properties. So you won't have to trespass over private properties, and also the Jacobson Preserve piece. So you'll be able to connect on those on publicly held properties, and it eliminates those trespass issues that have been up there forever.
Yeah, and then looks like on number 2 Canyon Road, there might be a shot chance for a little pullout eventually and another way to access.
Yeah, there's actually a wide spot in the road right now, but that's one of those trail routes that would have to be kind of further refined as we go along. But it might give you a bit more opportunities to explore the foothills up in that area.
Great. Any other questions for David? For those of us that have been around council for a long time, we've done a number of these. Most of the foothills ones are all the same sort of, same process.
Well, Your Honor, I would make a motion for the City Council to accept the State of Washington Recreation Conservation Office program grant in the amount of $491,750 for the Wenatchee Foothills Regional Recreation Area Project number 20-1446A, and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Bailey, second by Councilmember Hornby, to accept the State of Washington Recreation Conservation Office WWRP program grant in the amount of $491,750 for the Wenatchee Foothills Regional Recreation Area Project, 20-1446A, and authorize the mayor to sign. Any discussion?
Just to comment on, this is a great opportunity. We have quite a bit of high-density use in other local foothill trails, so I think this is a great opportunity for expansion and decrease some of that pressure.
Anybody else have any comments? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, David.
You bet. Mayor, I should mention that this will come to you electronically for signature. The state has changed over from their hard copies to electronic.
So many things are coming to me electronically now. I just, it's like, what is this one?
Yeah, I'll let you know
Okay.
if I know when it's coming.
Okay. All right, emergency management. So Laura, do you want to present? Sheriff, you want to come up? All right. You came all the way here. I thought you'd want to like come up and say hi and do stuff. Oh, okay.
Good evening, Council. Laura Merrill, Executive Services Director. The item before you is the 2022 Agreement for Emergency Services between the City and Chelan County Department of Emergency Management. So this is a contract that we renew on an annual basis, and it is updated according to the per capita costs and per capita numbers. So emergency management handles the emergency management services for the city, including ongoing updates to our Public Safety Committee. They update our continuity, why am I not saying that word? Continuity of operations plan, and our overall emergency management plan for the city. Obviously, they're very involved with the ongoing fires during the summer seasons, and then this season with the large heat spike, they were very involved in the cooling center organizations, which was critical this year. So with that, staff is here to answer any questions that you may have.
Yeah, and again, we started this when we got out of the fire business a number of years ago, and we've had good working relationships with the county, and Kent Sisson retired, and I think, is Rich in charge now? Rich Magnuson? Oh, okay. Yeah. Got it. Yeah. So, but they do a wonderful job, and Stan's still involved with them, so, yeah, they do a wonderful job for us. All right, any questions for Laura? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion for City Council to approve the contract between Chelan County Department of Emergency Management and the City of Wenatchee for 2022 emergency services in the amount of $103,132.80 and authorize the mayor's signature.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Heffinger, second by Councilmember Esparza, to approve the contract between Chelan County Department of Emergency Management and the City of Wenatchee for 2022 emergency services for $103,132.80, and authorize the mayor's signature. Discussion. Councilmember Bailey.
Yes, on the, in our packet here, page 71, there's a, it says that the increase in calculated per capita cost from 288, which I assume that was this year, or this past year?
Yeah.
Okay, to 293 for 2022. Then over on the next page, in the letter from Sheriff Burnett, it says that the per capita implementation for 2022 will be 295. And 2 cents, I'm not going to go to war over, but I'm just curious for the difference in the prices.
That is a typo in the 295. So the total amount is in the contract and matches the contract. So that's the 103.
293 is the,
Well, it's 103,000 is the final number, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, based off of the 295, 2.95.
Okay,
Yep.
so it's the 295 is the
That's the
correct one.
correct
Okay,
number, yes.
thank you.
All right, any other questions for Laura? All right, so we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Laura. All right, interlocal agreement regarding homeless funds. Glenn?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Glenn DeVries, Community Development Director. We previously had a workshop for the draft interlocal between the City of Wenatchee and East Wenatchee to manage the administration and services for the funds received under the 1590 local tax, and then also this interlocal agreement. The administration and the future task force would oversee additional grant funds that the City of Wenatchee receives for homelessness for reporting fees. The interlocal agreement governs duration and termination of the agreement, administration, reflecting the direction from both city councils, oversight and structure for staff, strategic planning, performance measures, ongoing analysis, coordination with service providers, fiscal oversight, which would be retained by the City of Wenatchee. We would retain, the council would retain fiduciary authority as the council has in the past. And then a new component, outreach and information to the public in addition to general contract requirements. I do have the interlocal, should there be interest in reviewing any component, but we did do an overview at our workshop and would stand for any questions you have. I did want to point out one thing though, on the second page, under the second whereas, there was a typo. It was a carryover from the previous interlocal. The RCW was an error and that was corrected. and an updated draft provided to you for your consideration, but it would stand for any questions you have tonight.
No, I don't have any, and glad we got that done. Hopefully it meets the council's, I know you guys spent a lot of time talking about the things you wanted in there and oversight and, oh. Right. Any questions? I'd entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion for the city council to authorize the mayor to sign the interlocal agreement for affordable housing and housing-related services.
Second. Motion by Councilmember Hornby, second by Councilmember Kulas, to adopt and authorize the mayor to sign the interlocal agreement for affordable housing and housing-related services. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Glenn. Thanks for all your work on this. Contract for Waspic Mental Health Field Response Team. Captain Reinfeld.
Good evening, Mayor Kuntz and council members. Here tonight again for the fourth year in a row, thankfully, to bring a Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs contract for a mental health field response team grant, hopefully for the mayor's signature. This, as I said, is the fourth year. I never expected to get past two, and yet last year came through, and then this year came through again, and actually reflects the largest grant we've been awarded in the process, reflecting an increase in pay for our partners who had not seen a change in 3 years, and we were no longer really covering the costs regarded for our partner agency and Catholic Charities. It's an especially challenging year with the changes to a lot of law enforcement responses. However, it's rolling, and it's been effective to date through the year as the grant year started July 1st. So I'd gladly answer any questions anyone may have.
So, Captain, do we have a contact at Catholic Charity who's our regular DCR?
So Sean Delancey is our current DCR for diversion.
Okay.
So he's running diversion and crisis right now. We had a separation of a DCR from Catholic Charities. It was hired by Chelan County as part of the genesis of their behavioral health unit, which is an element of this, interties with this. When I did this year's application, I included that process. And at some point feasible during the grant year that will transition to more services with Chelan County. However, Catholic Charities does hold the contract through the period of this grant and does hold the contract for crisis services and diversion services as the primary contractor through this whole window. So it can't be reassigned. If Catholic Charities fell apart completely tomorrow, we would have to stop any further execution of this grant until we reassess with Waspic. And that's, everyone's aware of that involved in the process, that we could have to have a change at some point, but we'll deal with that as it comes. We could potentially lose the rest of the grant funding. However, it's not being expended for any city services. It offsets no cost for the city. We are literally the pass-through. And despite my best efforts 4 years in a row, I can't get it assigned directly to the contractor so they can bill for it. It has to come through our department.
All right. Thanks, Captain.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and you're just, Captain, it's been interesting to see that this has been continued, like so many grant things. You do it for, like you say, a couple of years, and then it goes away. From the, I guess, kind of from the outside looking in, the concept I think is right in line with what we should be doing to mitigate a lot of the I guess the criticisms of policing and those kinds of things that have come out. But I think these kinds of programs are certainly well worth doing, and applaud the department for being able to take this on. Even though I'm going to not be on the council here at the end of the year, it would seem to me that maybe at some point it would be good to have a work session presentation from the department to kind of provide some examples and things like that of how it's working and what you do. I think that would, personally, that I would like to see that.
No problem at any
The
time,
other
sir.
council members, I think, might benefit from that as well.
Absolutely.
All right. Any questions for the captain? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I would make a motion for the.
Go ahead, Jim.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right, I'd make a motion for the city council to provide authorization for Mayor Kuntz to sign the Mental Health Field Response Team Program Grant Funding Contract for 2021-22.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Bailey, second by Councilmember Harold, to authorize the mayor's signature on the Mental Health Field Response Team Program Grant Funding Contract for 2021-2022. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Captain.
Thank you.
SWAT Team, Captain Chance.
Heavy hitters here tonight, don't we?
Yep.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I'm Brian Chance, captain with the Wenatchee Police Department. I'm also currently assigned as the commander for the Chelan County Regional SWAT Team. Before you tonight is an interlocal agreement for the development of a multi-agency SWAT team that would include our partner agencies and local law enforcement here. We actually have some representation from our partners here, from Chelan County Sheriff Burnett and from East Wenatchee Police Department Assistant Chief Eric Hampton is here as well to show their support. This objective here is to expand and utilize all the services that the two SWAT teams on either side of the river can bring to the table. It will alleviate staffing needs. Each team, if you've reviewed some of the information, each team currently has 11 members. Our hope here is to expand that up to a total of 24 operational members for the team with varying levels of personnel coming from each agency, just dependent on their size and their current capabilities. So I'd be happy to entertain any questions that the council has for me with regard to the interlocal agreement.
And we did spend some time with the public safety meeting last time we met and went over the concepts, and I think the council was, at least the committee was all in favor of it.
Got a great presentation on it.
Yep. Any questions for Captain Chance?
Yeah, Captain, what, the name there, East Cascade, does that that imply how far east, I guess is my question. Are we talking just kind of the valley, or are we really talking at some point this may?
Our service area is expected to be Chelan County and Douglas County.
Okay.
Yeah, we would service any entities or jurisdictions within those two counties.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I
I'll make a
move for city
motion for the
council
city
to
council.
authorize the mayor to sign the interlocal agreement for the East
You're out on the
Cascade
wing, man.
multi-jurisdictional SWAT team.
Second.
All right, we got a motion by Councilmember Harold, a second by Councilmember Huffaker, to authorize the mayor to sign an interlocal agreement for the East Cascade multi-jurisdictional SWAT team. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Captain.
Your Honor, I will recuse myself on this next item.
Okay, duly noted. So we have an update with our contract with the Coast Hotels regarding management of the convention center. Laura Merrill.
Hi, good evening, council. The item before you is the second amendment to the Convention Center Management Agreement with Coast Wenatchee. So in late 2020, Coast Hospitality, also known as Coast Wenatchee, requested financial assistance from the city in regards to utilities. So for most of 2020, the convention center was shut down due to COVID regulations. They couldn't hold any events. And so the council at that time agreed to support $100,000 through 2021. Recently, we received another request to go ahead and continue that support through 2022. So this amendment would extend through 2022, as well as add an additional $50,000 to that original bucket. For the first 6 months of 2021, the reimbursement or the expenses have been about $30,000. So we think that that would be enough to continue to the support through 2022. Otherwise, this has been reviewed by Finance Committee, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Yeah, it's just going to take a while for the convention center to get up and going to full capacity, so I think it makes sense. And, you know, we allocated $100,000 for 2021. They're probably going to spend 60 or 70. So if we go all of 2022, that'd be another 60 or 70, so it'd be in the 120, 130 range. So 150 seems like it'll be more than sufficient. And if they get up and get going and start using more utilities, then we'll cap out at the 150 number. So. Any other questions for Laura? If not, I entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion for City Council to authorize the mayor to sign a second amendment to the Convention Center Management Agreement for utilities reimbursement of up to $150,000 through January 1st, 2023, whichever is sooner.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilmember Esparza, a second by Councilmember, I think it was Hornby, to authorize the mayor to sign the second amendment to the Convention Center Management Agreement for utilities reimbursement of up to $150,000 or through January 1, 2023, whichever is sooner. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And Laura's next with a memorandum of understanding between the City of Wenatchee and RAM Development Partners. Laura?
Yes, thank you, Council. The item before you is a memorandum of understanding between the City of Wenatchee and RAM Development Partners, also known as Retail Strategies, regarding the North Wenatchee redevelopment project. So early this year, we were exploring some opportunities to really start to market the property that the city owns along North Wenatchee Avenue. The property had been listed back in 2019, but we have not received any formal offers. We have received some interest, but there has been no formal letters of interest or offers to buy the property. So in those discussions, we started to look at the opportunity to engage a commercial broker. During that time, the Economic Development District actually brought in Retail Strategies to do a retail recruitment plan for the City of Wenatchee, along with some other of the agents or the other cities here in the area. And that's how we were connected with Retail Strategies. They put together a really great retail recruitment plan that was included in your packet that talks about the potential opportunities for retail, really did a deep dive into the community, the makeup of the community, the demographics, the types of products that we could bring here. Along further discussions with Retail Strategies, they also have a development branch, they have a brokerage branch, and so they have a lot of experience in that commercial broker area as well. And so after further discussions, we have negotiated this MOU, which would give them basically a year of exclusive rights to market the property for us, based off of some of the terms that the council would like to see or that the council has proposed. So for example, we want to market the property as one and see a full development plan versus kind of doing it parcel by parcel. And so at the end of the year, the intent is for Retail Strategies to bring forward to the council a proposal that includes all of the types of products that would be included, basically a full development plan for the property for your consideration. Other than that, it's a no-cost agreement. So in essence, it's very, again, similar to a commercial broker where they're going to go out and have the discussions, and any fee would be based off of the sale or the development of the property. And I'm here to answer any other questions you may have.
Yeah, I think when we've mentioned this before, we really struggled with, you get one person wants, half acre here, and you sell somebody the best half acre, and somebody else would have wanted it, and you could have got something different. So this is a great way to sort of plan the whole property, and then when we get people interested, we'll just send them to these folks, and they can work with them, and yeah, maybe we have a spot for you here, or maybe, there may be a residential component. So I think all of those, as people call and ask, we'll just forward it off to those folks, and they'll come back and report to us 6 months or so and give us an idea what they're looking at. And I think it really is the best way to get what we want out of those 8 acres.
Laura, can you explain a little bit, it's a no-cost agreement, but so how do they get paid? Is it a percentage of the property sale? And what percentage is that?
So that's kind of what the development agreement would detail, and it depends. So Retail Strategies has the ability to purchase the property and develop it themselves. They are a developer, or they could work with another developing agency, and then they would be the broker of that and get a certain fee for that because they brought in that client. And so it really depends on how the deal ends up being structured. But whatever the case is it'll be some sort of commission based off whatever the final proposal is.
So we don't have that final proposal yet, so we don't know exactly what those numbers are going to be.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a chance they'll come in and they say, you're going to get this. We're not going to do it, and we're going to sell it to this company that's going to do all that for $5 million, and we want a 4% commission. All right. Or they may come in and say, hey, we'll give you $5 million, and we're going to do all the development ourselves, so you don't know what their deal is with other people, but you're going to get this with a DA, and they'll make their money on the profit from their other agreements they already have. So be one of those two sort of, yeah, I would envision it will be the first, to be honest with you, but they also can develop it if they want. The nice thing is we get to pick, right? And we get to make sure that the deal we get is good for the city, and then we'll be able to look at it and make sure that it's a reasonable price for what we have invested.
But I guess that was kind of my question. We still have control of what goes in there. It's just not
Yep.
some strip mall that is an ugly eyesore. We don't need more of that.
We'll
kind
have a
of noise.
full development agreement. Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
That's the way we control, right? We won't sell it to them unless we get the things that we think are important on that piece of property.
Yep, and Steve Smith did a really good job of making sure that language was very specific in there, that the city has the ultimate authority to approve or deny any type of development. And the intent is to continue to talk to them, ongoing, so that we know that we're tracking in the way that we want to see the development. So I anticipate that we'll kind of know how it's going along and be able to provide the council with those updates so that you can help kind of guide the development as we're having those discussions.
Thank you for the clarification.
All right, any questions for Laura? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I would make a motion for the council to approve the memorandum of understanding between the City of Wenatchee and RAM Development Partners, LLC, an Alabama limited liability company regarding the North Wenatchee redevelopment project, and authorize the mayor's signature.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Kulas, second by Councilmember, who was that again? Was that you? Hornby. It's hard to hear sometimes with the muffling. To approve the memorandum of understanding between the City of Wenatchee and RAM Development Partners, LLC, an Alabama limited liability company regarding the North Wenatchee redevelopment project, and authorize the mayor's signature. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. School Street Sanitary Sewer. Jeremy, how are you?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Doing good. So for the council's excitement, was it last week or the week before, we had a little wellness event, and we rented the driving range up at Highlander, and I'm afraid we're going to lose Jeremy to the PGA Tour. That guy was absolutely just roping
another
the golf ball.
lifetime.
What's that?
Maybe in another lifetime. So, good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Jeremy Hoover, Senior Utility Engineer with the city. I'm here to talk about the School Street Sewer project. The project is going to be done it's being done in a couple of phases, but the county is going to be leading the job. The section of sewer that we're talking about here is between Easy Street and Knowles Road. It is going to be a 12-inch sewer that we're going to install that will be the outfall for the additional pipes that go up Knowles Road all the way up to American Fruit. In order to install this pipe, we need to get underneath the Wenatchee Reclamation District's pipelines. They have pipes that go across School Street, basically northwest to southeast, that cross in a 50-foot easement. We need to be able to put our sewer underneath those pipes and install it in a casing. So in order to put the sewer in the district's easement, we need to execute an agreement with them for the installation and maintenance requirements associated with the new sewer in perpetuity. So what you have before you is a draft version of the agreement with
the Reclamation District that will allow us to do just that. We're going to ask that you authorize the mayor to sign this in substantial conformance with the attached draft. I don't anticipate anything that's significant in terms of the changes, but we are going to ask for a little bit of clarification in some of the verbiage, just to clean up exactly where we can work, when we can work, because there's issues with the irrigation timing and having asphalt available and when we'll be able to have a contractor work. It's basically a scheduling thing so that we can actually work in the easement with irrigation on, but not underneath the pipes with the irrigation.
Is it one big pipe?
There's two.
Two. 36-inch somethings?
36-inch and 24, if I remember correctly.
So you got to do the underground stuff under the pipe when there's no water in the ditch?
There's going to be a trenchless bore underneath the pipes because we do not want to disturb them at all, and we're going to bore through with the casing. The sewer line will go inside the casing.
Got it.
That will happen when the irrigation lines are off and dry.
Okay.
But because irrigation season basically overlaps any kind of a realistic asphalt window, we have to be able to pave when irrigation is on.
Okay.
So that was one of the big sticking points that we kind of needed to nail down. And depending on the contractor's availability and time frame and several other little items associated with the construction, we need to clean up the verbiage just a little bit more than what's.
So you're going to try to do it in the spring then, before the water gets on, or are you going to wait till the fall?
That's the idea.
This spring?
Yes. And depending on what the county's schedule is, you know, lots of things will get moved around because they're going to be rebuilding the whole road. They have a storm drain that they're going to want to install concurrent to our sewer installation in that segment of road as well.
Great. Any questions for Jeremy? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Yeah, and I'll make a motion for the city council to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement in substantial conformance with the presented agreement between the city of Wenatchee and the Wenatchee Reclamation District for the construction of the new sewer line crossing associated with the School Street Sanitary Sewer Line Extension Project number 2105.
Second?
Motion by Councilmember Huffaker, second by Councilmember Bailey to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement in substantial conformance with the presented agreement between the city of Wenatchee and the Wenatchee Reclamation District for the construction of the new sewer line crossings associated with the School Street Sanitary Sewer Line Extension Project number 2105. Discussion? Gonna keep my fingers crossed. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks,
Thank you.
Jeremy. Stormwater study, Jessica and team.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jessica Shaw, Deputy Public Works Director, Utilities. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Kelsey Grover, Stormwater Technician. And before you, we have the Stormwater Effectiveness Study interlocal agreement between the City of Wenatchee, Chelan County, Douglas County, East Wenatchee, and the City of Pullman for our effectiveness study to evaluate, or that is required by our municipal stormwater permit to evaluate elements of our stormwater program. This study will focus on education and outreach. And I just wanted to share that we just completed another study in 2020 that was also one of the first requirements of our permit. That was to look at how effective our education and outreach was for mobile contractors. And that cost us a total of $30,000 and was shared by 4 jurisdictions. We now have a little bit higher cost because this is going to be a little bit bigger study. And we now have another partner to share in those costs with the City of Pullman. So, and other jurisdictions who are doing some of these studies are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. So just want to say that we're not only testing the effectiveness of our program, but we're also being very effective and efficient in using those stormwater dollars, working with our local partners.
It's always nice to get Pullman to, partner with
Yeah,
us.
how often do we get to partner with them, right?
I could have worn my crimson and gray shirt. I didn't know.
How'd that come
Johnson would be
about?
pleased.
Yeah. How'd that, I mean, it's so random. Was it random?
No, actually, so
we have participated in Eastern Washington stormwater kind of cohort for quite some time. And actually, when they were doing these studies on an Eastern Washington basis, Pullman wanted to participate in our last study, and they actually were. They did some review, and we actually did some of the pilot studying in Pullman for that study, but they did not contribute funding. So one of the things that Ecology learned is they wanted to have a more legitimate, like, interlocal agreement, and if you were going to get credit for being part of the study, you really should be a contributing member to the study and be part of the interlocal agreement. So Pullman said, yes, it would be great the first time, but we'd like to be more official this time, and we'd like to help contribute funding. So this agreement has been approved by all of the other partners at this point, including City of Pullman.
Excellent.
Just enjoyed seeing the voice of the Cougars signature on the agreement there.
All right, any questions? If not, I entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I make a motion for the city council to authorize mayor's signature on the interlocal agreement for the development and implementation of an effectiveness study related to the regional stormwater management and permit compliance.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hornby, second by Councilmember Esparza, to authorize the mayor's signature on the interlocal agreement for development and implementation of an effectiveness study related to the regional stormwater management and permit compliance. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Kelsey. Thanks, Jessica.
We'll work on
Appreciate you guys
getting
being here.
more partners next time.
Hi, Charlotte. How are you? It's not often we rescind a contract.
Your Honor, I'll recuse myself from this one.
Duly noted.
Yeah, Charlotte Mitchell, Capital Projects Manager for Parks, Recreation, and Community Cultural Services. Wow. So this is for the Lincoln Park Pump Park project. We put this out for ad on June 4th. On June 23rd, we received one bid from Evergreen Mountain Bike Alliance. Pacific, who was our consulting design engineer, reviewed it and recommended we approve it and accept it. So we did, and then after 2 months of negotiation of the contract terms, Evergreen communicated to us that they could not meet the terms of the contract as they bid it. Since there were no other bidders, we have no other option other than to rescind this approval, and then we're wrapping it up, which we are already currently working on, into the larger Lincoln Park project, and that will be going to add next month. Any questions?
Yes, we had a time frame in there that had to have it completed by a certain date, and a lot of their work's volunteer work, and a lot of the volunteers were fighting fires, and they basically said they didn't think they could make the deadline. I think we sort of wanted to extend the deadline, but I think our lawyers said we can't extend the deadline, it was bid this way, so we got to come back to them.
That was the only sticking point, was the deadline?
I believe it was, yeah, I think we had to have it done.
And that's
that was-
due to the grants and
It's
things
the way
like
we
that?
bid it. I think it's the way we put it in the bid, so they couldn't accommodate.
The schedule is part of the contract, so when you bid it, you're committing to meet the schedule as stated in the plans. And so we cannot just allow the contractor to set the contract in this case, or because then we would have to allow that for every other contractor. And so we couldn't be seen to be showing favoritism.
I asked the same question. Let's just give them an extra month, whatever.
Yeah.
And it wasn't an issue
no.
of an extra month. It was, they wanted to do it next summer.
Okay.
Which would have been a bit tricky because then we would have had our prime contractor for all of Lincoln Park working, but then them working also. But they wouldn't have been a sub under the prime. They would have been their own prime. And so that can get tricky when you have two contractors working in close quarters. So that it just didn't seem like a great idea. There were also issues about indemnity that I thought we had kind of worked through, but that was also a bit tricky.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out how we're going to get that completed by a company that knows what they're doing, like Evergreen did.
Yeah.
So they'll have the opportunity to bid that as a sub
Okay.
to the
Okay.
primes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Excellent.
so they're not,
Good to hear.
we haven't excluded them from any future chances to build this.
Yeah.
It's just
Listen,
didn't
if
work out.
KRCI or one of the major contractors gets it, they're going to probably have Evergreen Mountain Bike build it, right?
Excellent,
Yeah.
okay. Good to hear.
Yeah, they'll have their shot at it
I'm
again.
not sure there's too many other qualified people to,
That was
Build those.
my concern.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
all right. Any questions for Charlotte? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move for City Council to rescind approval for the mayor to sign a contract with Evergreen Mountain Bike Alliance in the amount of $181,448.88 for the construction of the Lincoln Park Pump Park project.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Harold, second by Councilmember Bailey, to rescind approval for the mayor to sign a contract with Evergreen Mountain Bike Alliance in the amount of $181,448.88 for the construction of the Lincoln Park project, Pump Park project. Do I actually have to sign a rescission, or is it just
No,
rescinded?
this is just more of a formality since
Got it.
they gave approval. We just needed it rescinded, so it wasn't just hanging out there.
I've never used my veto stamp, so I thought maybe I could veto something.
I can send you something to veto if you.
No, that's all right. All right, any other questions for Charlotte? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you.
Hello, Jacob.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jacob Heiler, Engineering Services Manager. I'm here tonight to talk to you about two budget approvals, so I'm going to sound a little bit like a broken record as we move through this. But basically what we're asking here tonight is for budget approval on two different projects. I'll talk about Easy Street first, and then I'll fill in for Jake Lewing on the pavement preservation one second. So these are both budgets that you'll see as part of the 2022 budget process, but we are asking for budget approval now in order to get design started right away so that we can get the design documents out in time for construction next year. So the first one pertains to the Easy Street roundabout. As you might have heard, WashDOT is planning to replace the existing signal at US 297 and Easy Street with a roundabout next year. We have a permitted sewer crossing of that intersection. I've got a little schematic shown on page 241 of your packet. I apologize, I don't have it up on the screen tonight. But as part of that roundabout footprint will expand significantly beyond what the signal footprint is currently. And so we have a manhole that needs to be relocated, and then about 150 feet of sewer pipe that will be replaced in order to facilitate the new alignment. In discussions with WashDOT, they've agreed to include that work in their contract, which is great news for us. It allows us to benefit off of some of the economies of scale that will come along with that. So you'll likely be seeing an interlocal agreement in the coming months for that work. Yeah, so we're asking for $150,000 in budget approval, all out of the sewer fund, and I'm happy to take any questions.
And they're building the roundabout this year, or next year, you mean?
Next year, yep, they're planning on advertising in February of next year with a April or May start date.
That'll be a mess for a while.
Yeah, they'll be doing quite a bit of public outreach again come December, so you can expect to see much more updated plans and graphics, detour plans, et cetera, that'll come along with that.
What's their target date? I mean, are they going to hit right in the middle of summer or
They are. So
the busiest traffic time of the year?
right, and so my understanding, their intent, I don't want to speak for WashDOT, is that they'll keep traffic on the main line going. It'll be the biggest impact to the folks on Easy Street trying to get onto the highway. And so access will be blocked for that. And so you'll have to go down to either the Euclid interchange or up to Penny in order to access the highway.
Okay, that won't be the end of the world then.
They've got a plan for it, but it's still going to be, it's going to be a mess. Yeah,
It's not our project, let's remember that.
that's right.
Your Honor, I make a motion for the City Council to approve the proposed budget for City Project 2111, the Easy Street Sewer relocation.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Kulas, second by Councilmember Huffaker, I believe, to approve the proposed budget for City Project 2111, the Easy Street Sewer relocation. Discussion?
Yeah, just I guess more of a curiosity question. What is the the red line here on the map indicating that's the new pipe. Why the jog, I guess?
So currently, you'll see if you're looking at the map now, the existing sewer is shown by the orange or yellowish line on there.
Right.
The orange or yellowish circles are existing manholes. So currently, we have a manhole on the southeast corner of the intersection that's outside of the traveled way. As that pavement footprint expands, that would be in the traveled way, which it's washouts right away, so they ultimately control whether or not we can have infrastructure in that area. But it'd also be a maintenance nightmare for us trying to get out into that roundabout if we had to jet that sewer line. Or,
I see, so that yellow one is what's going away.
Yeah, the yellow one
Red
will
one
go
will be
away.
new, and then it'll connect, okay.
Yeah, so the red shows the work that we'd be including in WashDOT's project.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you.
Of course.
Any other questions for Jacob? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Jacob.
Of course.
Are you doing the next one too?
I am.
All right, so we're gonna do the pavement preservation work. What's up?
Yep, so same song and dance. We are looking to get some budget approval now in order to get design started right away for our 2022 pavement preservation project. Like I said earlier, you'll see it again in the same fashion in your 2022 city budget process, but we would like to get funding obligated now rather than January 1. So next year, we've been working with our finance director, and we've got about $3 million worth of money to spend on pavement preservation next year. $500,000 of that is slated for to do pavement preservation on Walla Walla and 9th Street in conjunction with a stormwater project that we have going on that location. So we're asking for $2.5 million as part of this budget approval. There's a map shown that Jake Lewing put together on page 245 of your packet. So that identifies some of the streets that we're considering at this point. I'd like to caution that's not set in stone at this point in terms of those particular streets. You know, if you're looking at the map, we've got McKittrick shown on there. We applied for a TIB grant for McKittrick, and so if come November that project gets funded, we'd obviously shift that around a little bit in order to take advantage of the TIB money and use our local money more effectively. So
Are we far enough along to figure out whether doing chip seal or overlay or what we're doing?
our plan next year is to do a thin overlay, so the exact same process as we had in 2020.
Okay.
And that $3 million will go about 4.4 miles worth of streets. And so if there are some changes, we can expect that that 4.4 miles will stay pretty consistent. It just might move around a little bit throughout town. So
And we did talk we had our budget meeting today at the Finance Committee, and they asked for an additional $1 million to add into this. And I told Jacob and his team to, as you refine these, bring us a project that's got another something close to $1 million so we can sort of choose when you get close to the end. Because there's a chance the council may decide to spend some of our reserves to do that. So you might just think about that as you bring this forward.
yeah, and so our hope in doing that is part of the 2022 budget process, you'll also see a request for 2023 pavement preservation.
Right.
And that's at the $1.2 million that is comprised of our TBD and REAP money.
Okay.
So if there were additional funds that the council would be willing to put towards pavement preservation, we'd ask that go into the 23 project,
Okay.
which will allow us to work a little bit more ahead. So
My questions are we looking at having the same contractor that did it in 2020?
So it's competitively bid. Central Washington Asphalt was the contractor who did it in 2020. They also did our 2019 chip seal project, and so they're the largest, local contractor, and so they're going to be competitive on almost any pavement preservation project that we put out.
Sort of like the concrete business, there's only one or two left doing it, and
Yeah, there are others. So Granite will occasionally get interested in this area. There was a company out of Ellensburg that bid on the 2020 project, and so there's certainly other firms that are competing for our work. Central Washington Asphalt has had the most success.
who's got local batch plants? So is it just Central? Or just
Yes.
the one from Moses Lake? Yeah. All right, any questions for Jacob? If not, I entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion for the city council to approve the project budget for the 2022 pavement preservation project number 2110.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Huffaker, second by Councilmember Hornby to approve the project budget for the 2022 pavement preservation project number 2110. Discussion?
Just a comment, I know it's not the most exciting, but I appreciate all that effort you guys do and the layout of looking at what streets need it, and that's impressive, and appreciate that work.
Thank you. Yeah, we appreciate your support on keeping our streets paved. Thank you.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Jacob.
Thank you.
Oh, that was fast work, everybody.
What?
Mayor's report. I've just got a couple of things. We did get into the bond market last Friday for the PFD bonds. They all got spoken for. We'll have a closing in a couple of weeks, so that was all good. So the PFD will be refinanced at about 3.1%. So that all went well. We did have our budget hearing today on the city budget for 2022. I think it went fairly well. We're currently out of budget on the reoccurring stuff by, I think, $500,000 or $600,000. Brad isn't too concerned about it because it seems like every time we get it to balance, then we always overshoot our revenue and undershoot our expenses. So he'll get more into that as he gets those sort of things finalized. And what do you plan on sending out to the whole budget, the whole list of stuff? And is that what you usually send them? October 1st? Okay. But it has all of the cost of living increases and the union contract stuff in it, and so it's all pretty, I think, pretty bumped up to about where it should go. So thought it went well today at the Finance Committee. We pretty much agreed on most of the items. So the Finance Committee will approve a fairly decent spend down of reserves. I think there was $1 million in it for Lincoln Park. There's some other projects in there. But it looked like what you'll see is a list of projects that, quite frankly, I don't know if staff can get them all done in the time frame of next year's budget, but seems to be going along pretty well. Laura, more stuff? You must have a list of things. Okay.
I'm here with my weekly reminder for Riverfront Master Plan. So next week on the 28th, please join us at Pybus from either 8 to 2 or 12 to 3 to give feedback on the concepts. Councilmember Hornby and I were on Coho Radio earlier this week to help advertise that effort. So just want to continue to push that along. The only other thing I have similar to radio, I think it was yesterday, I was on La Nueva along with Cafe to just do updates for the city, and we want to try to do that ongoing. I know Councilmember Esparza and I had talked about doing Spanish radio, so I welcome you to join me. I'm happy to help translate for you. It is a Spanish language program, but Mario is great about helping translate as well. So once we get a set schedule for that, I will reach out.
Invalid selection.
I will reach out and again invite you all to participate. That's it.
Brad, do you want to come up and give the council 3 minutes on tax increment financing?
3 minutes, we'll put a timer on it.
I was afraid you were going to ask that.
No, it was on my calendar that we talked about it, so I thought you'd want to give all the council all the great news you found out. Yeah.
So this past year, the state legislature adopted tax increment financing, which a lot of jurisdictions had been asking for many years from the state of Washington. What tax increment financing is basically the city can, if there's an area that they want to develop, but they don't have the funds to lay the infrastructure, you need the streets, the sidewalks, the utilities put into this area. You can create boundaries around a certain part of your jurisdiction, and then they take a baseline. So you've got to do an ordinance. You apply have the state review it. They take a base valuation of the properties in that area. So let's assume that the properties have zero value, assessed value. That's not realistic, but let's assume that. then
North Wenatchee Avenue would have zero value.
North Wenatchee Avenue.
North Wenatchee Avenue project, yeah.
It's mostly owned by the city at this point, so there's zero valuation on it. There's other properties around there, but assume it's zero. So we create this TIF district, and then development starts happening. As the property values increase, the city gets to basically have certain property taxes diverted from some of the other local jurisdictions, and those go to help fund the infrastructure improvements we need. We don't get any of the state's property tax. The thought behind it is that that development wouldn't have happened had the city not moved forward with the infrastructure improvements, so that the other taxing jurisdictions, they wouldn't have received any property tax from it anyway. So that's why their portion of that goes to the city for a limited time period. It's either 20 or 25 years. So we were initially under the impression that all of the new construction, all of the assessed valuation increases would go into that property tax amount that the city would have diverted. Well, we've sat in a couple webinars over the past week, and the consensus is that the new construction, the increases in new construction, the assessor will value new construction separately than the rest of the value increases, which they do already. The city would not receive the diverted property taxes on the new construction values, but the values after that and on the surrounding properties. So again, we go back to saying that, yes, there's zero valuation in this area. And then in year one, there's a $10 million development put on there. Well, we don't get any of the diverted property taxes on that 10 million. However, then year two, the assessor revalues that at 11 million. We get the diverted property taxes on the 1 million. And if the other properties around it went from the zero valuation up to $1 million, we would get that diverted property taxes on that million. But when we were first under the impression that we would be able to get the diverted property taxes on that full 10 million of new construction, there's a big difference between the revenue that it will provide in reality. So there's still a lot of unknowns about the tax increment financing, but this was sort of one of those shockers that made us realize that this isn't going to bring in nearly as much revenue as we're hoping.
Yeah, it just didn't turn out to be what we thought it would be. And we actually sat down and spent a bunch of time looking at districts, because you can do 2 districts. And we were looking at these areas that, we needed to redevelop and help bring new. And it's just like, then we did the math on how much that would bring, and that would really help pay for sidewalks and sewers and all those things that you need to get the development to happen. And now you do that, and it's like, for all the work that it would do to get just a little bit of money here and there, it almost seems like may not be worth all of the effort to do one.
Yeah. There may be strategies to try to help make those funds useful, and in some places that we want to put utilities in, and we just don't have the funding at the moment. There may be the opportunity to use some general funds, and then that the tax increment financing could reimburse the general fund over time, or another fund. But a lot of the talk was, well, you have this tax increment financing area so that you can go out to bond, and you can use your bond proceeds to do all the upgrades, and then you'll get this diverted revenue in the future to help pay off your bonds. Well, we're not going to go out and bond for $1 million because it's just not worth the cost to go out and bond for $1 million. And if that's all we're going to end up getting over the next 20 years in a certain area, then maybe that's not. If we're going to get 10 million in that area, that might make some sense. But I think we still have a lot more research to do on it, and to figure out which areas and estimates on how much we might be able to produce from it.
Everyone was all excited about tax increment financing. We were meeting, trying to figure out how to do it. What's the port going to take? What are we going to take? And we just got shut down.
So I think there are still a lot of jurisdictions that are excited about it, because this is a program that they've wanted to see from the state for a long time, and so I think I think there may be certain instances where it will still be beneficial, but what we had initially thought isn't.
Thanks, Brad. Council members, anything going on your council committees?
Had a good chamber meeting the other day. It's amazing what you learn at a chamber meeting. The airport is actually having trouble getting fuel because of shortage of truck drivers. And they're getting ready to do some resurfacing and bring in Mauser lights, which will actually help improve winter landings. So that's a good, I thought that was good. Real estate listings are up 20%, although a lot of those 20% are way overpriced. Somebody hoping that they actually snag a good deal on their house. Of course, everybody's heard about East Wenatchee still talking about fireworks ban. It sounds like they're strongly considering that, going along with what we've done in the past. The gigawatt pods that kind of went into...
Up by the airport,
Yeah, they have had a troubled life, and they're actually looking at converting those into kind of a trades district. So if you had a business that you were working out of your garage, this would be maybe the next step to take it into one of those little pods and as you grow your business. So it sounded like it was a good idea. Other than that, pretty good meeting.
Good.
Rivercom has, will have a new executive director starting November 1st.
Okay, I saw that in the newspaper or someplace.
Yep.
What happened to the other one?
She is stepping into a new position, a deputy director position. So she'll be, helping the new director. His name is Lowell Porter. I hope I didn't slaughter his name.
No, I think you got it right.
Yeah, okay.
Sunday, you should have all gotten an email from David Keltz. Sunday, October 3rd, from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. will be a celebration for the 90th anniversary of the 1931 Miss Vidal flight from Misawa, Japan to Wenatchee Valley. And it's going to be held at the Wenatchee Valley Museum. They have a display there for Miss Vidal. We'll also be showing the film Miss Vidal, The Spirit of Wenatchee at 2:30 and at 3:30. I hope
I'll be there.
everyone can come.
I'm coming.
Will you be there?
Yep.
Good, thank you. I
Yep.
appreciate that. And then we had our first meeting of the cities of Wenatchee and East Wenatchee Homeless Task Force, and it went very well. Moving forward, we still don't have a definite location, but Glenn DeVries is working on it.
Yep. Jim, Jose, Mark, anything? Travis? You and I'll talk offline? So when do we meet again?
3 weeks.
3 weeks? So we got I lost track of the days. So today's the 23rd. We don't meet on the 30th. We don't meet on the 7th. So we'll meet on October the 14th.
Oh.
I would add, Councilmember Harold and I think we were, attended the Residence Inn
Oh, thank you for doing that
dedication
while
and
I was
opening
gone. Yeah,
yesterday.
thank you.
Yeah, it was pretty tough having to go through their buffet of fruits and vegetables. That was really tough duty.
It's a beautiful spot, and we all toured it. It was
Yeah,
gorgeous.
yeah, and it's being occupied now,
Good.
and good use of property that used to be just garbage.
Yep.
And the restaurant area is open to the public,
Oh, good.
5 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay. Do they have a local provider, or they're doing it internally?
It's internal.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Met the executive chef, real engaging individual.
Okay.
Try to have it's a one-sheet menu with,
Okay.
it's, pricing looked good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks for doing that. I was,
And it interfaces the park with at least two direct park connections.
yeah, they did a really nice job on that patio, and,
Yeah.
beautiful. All right, anything else for the good of the order?
They get their bike parking done and all that? Bicycle parking?
I didn't Didn't wander that direction.
Okay. Just curious how they were talking about it, so I was
Yeah.
wondering how that turned out.
That was on the north side of the building, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't wander over that way. But they did get they had the roll-up doors for the pool
Pool,
and
yeah.
spa area. You know, nice concept.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We are adjourned.